I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any agenda deletions or corrections? It looks like we do have an addition for prior to number 12 supervisors report, approve hire and full. That'll be 12:08. Okay. With that, number 1, consent agenda. Claims. We have claims for $453,010.43. There are no fringes in today's report. B, approved 6-month pay increase, Toby Hill, secondary roads, effective February 26, 2020. C, approved 6-month pay increase, Matthew Trish, secondary roads, effective March 3, 2020. D, approved pay increase, Justin Weeks, secondary roads, effective March 18, 2020. E, approved payroll removal, Janice Shelton, billing specialist clerk, public health, effective April 1st, 2020. F, approved payroll removal, Bailey Tim, seasonal conservation, effective January 31st, 2020. G, approved payroll removal, Harrison Smith, seasonal conservation, effective January 31, 2020. H, approved promotion, Matthew Versteg, IT Director, Informational Technology, effective February 1, 2020. And I, approve Class B native wine, Prinz WBN, Prinz application for Social Station Floral.
I would move the consent agenda.
Second.
Discussion, seeing none. Tracy?
McIntyre,
Aye.
Scholl,
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye. All right, it is 9:32, which means action items 2 and 3 are public hearings with preset times. So 5 is as well. What can we put in here? Number 8. That sounds good, David. Come on.
Thank you.
If you only have one thing to do and you can move to the front of the line, that makes sense. All right.
This is for our office desired a speed limit reduction on Nevada Street between R57 Highway and R63. We're just seeing a lot more density to us for residential development in the area, and there are some driveways out there that it would benefit from a safety aspect to have a lower speed. And then to the east of there, the pavement is 50 miles per hour, so it kind of matches with that overall area as well to have some reduced speeds in there as it continues to develop.
Any questions?
I would move agenda item 8, considering the speed limit change to 40 miles per hour on Nevada streets between R57 and R63.
Second.
Any discussion or questions?
I have a question for David.
Yeah.
When it was a gravel road, it was normally 55 during the daytime and 45 at night. So did you say anything about the wear and tear on the actual road itself for lowering this? Is that a consideration, or?
No, that would not be a consideration of the wear and tear. It's mainly a density of residential development aspect.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
McIntyre,
Aye.
Scholl,
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I have 9:34. I'm gonna sign my name here a second. The clock should tick over. Let's jump back to item number 2, which is public hearing regarding FY20 budget amendment with possible action. And Megan can start on that now. Thank you.
Thank you. I apologize for my voice. I Before you said fiscal year 20 budget amendment, as we worked through our budget meetings, we identified the areas that we felt needed to be amended in the current fiscal year going forward. There's quite a few items on this amendment. The department management form breaks it down by, and there are copies of that up front, breaks it down by the service areas. I will break it down departmentally for you as I read through it. In the sheriff's department, we have an amendment for $245,000 increase. And that was primarily for detention services, overtime items, and medical for inmate medical. Recorder's office, $31,200. That was for that accrued scanning invoice that we had budgeted into fiscal year 19, but got paid in fiscal year 20 due to the accrual period. The engineer had multiple line items that were adjusted. One of them was we had budgeted the $2 million for the shop site, and that is not happening, so we're taking that expenditure out. So the net effect on the engineer's budget is a reduction of $1,230,000 because he had increases for the landslides, but then we're taking that amount out for the building. The conservation department requested an amendment for additional revenues they've received, so they have both a revenue and an expenditure adjustment of $28,135. Medical examiners, an increase of $10,000. District court is an increase of $38,100. Capital projects were amending for the 911 communication project. That increase is $8,205,000. Information technology, we issued both revenue of $240,000 and expenditures of $240,000 for that current IT project going on, as well as in mental health. Due to the change in how much fund balance should be left in the mental health fund, we're going to be sending an additional amount of our fund balance to the region. So we amended an additional $350,000 from that mental health to be sent to the region. So in total, your amendments are for $7,917,435. And on the revenue side, you have long-term debt proceeds offsetting the majority of that. However, we will see a few $100,000 difference in the general fund. We don't anticipate the general fund to dip very much at this time.
I would move we go to a public hearing.
Second.
McIntyre,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
DeCook,
Aye. Any discussion or questions?
I would move we go back to regular session.
Second.
McIntyre,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
DeCook,
Aye.
I would move that we pass the resolution for the FY 20 budget amendment.
Second.
Discussion? Tracy?
McIntyre,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
DeCook,
Aye. Right. Item number 3 is also a public hearing. Public hearing regarding FY 21 proposed property tax levy with possible action.
We're not in public hearing yet. Should be all right.
This is the new public hearing in regards to the fiscal year 21 budget. Now requires that there are 2 hearings before proceeding with the budget. This first hearing is a notice for the public hearing on the proposed property tax levy. So this initial hearing is to approve those levy rates and those tax dollar increases. The second hearing will be the full budget that we have been done in the past, but that will be later in March. So this hearing and the document, which is also up front, the new hearing notice has the current year of certified property tax, if the tax dollars were to stay the same, and then what is being proposed as the new tax dollars, providing a percentage change to the public to let them know. So we have increases in tax dollars in our general basic and our general supplemental. The tax dollar increase is 5.64%, approximately $660,000. Our general basic levy rate is at its maximum, 3.5. It will remain the same. What is proposed is a reduction to the general supplemental of 6 cents. That supplemental rate would be 1.73513. So the total for your general basic and general supplemental is 5.23513. The use of those additional tax dollars, our sheriff general basic increase in fiscal year 21 is $293,000. Our IT increase just in the general basic is $194,350. So the majority of it is going to that $487,500 that's increasing in those two areas. The rest of it is in wage increases for COLA and merit within our, on the rural basic, the tax dollar increase is approximately $389,000, which equates to a 20% increase in tax dollar. The general or the rural basic levy will see a 25-cent increase, going from 2.03 to 2.28. And remember, in fiscal year 20, that levy rate dropped $1.60. It went from 3.63 down to 2.03 for the current fiscal year. So this is raising it 25 cents. Those amounts for the rural basic predominantly are for sheriff investigation, moving some of our rural-only expenses to the rural-only taxation. So sheriff investigation is $239,800. Secondary road health insurance $513,000, and the Humane Society for $75,000. Even with the increase, we will be using fund balance in the rural basic to cover those expenses. So approximately the amounts that we increased for $827,000, we'll be using approximately $500,000 of the rural basic fund balances. Those are the levy rates, as well as the taxation dollars, and where they go.
I would move we go to a public hearing.
Second.
McIntyre,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye. Okay, we are now in public hearing. Are there any comments, questions from the public?
I would move we go back to regular session.
Second.
McIntyre,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye.
I would move that we pass a resolution for the FY 21 proposed property tax levy.
Second.
Any discussion or questions for Megan? Okay, Tracy?
McIntyre,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye. All right, action item number 4, set date for fiscal year 21 public budget hearing.
The date for the actual budget hearing cannot be set until after you have approved those proposed property tax levies. So at this time, I would ask the board to set a public hearing date for us to have the budget public hearing. Generally, we have those in the evening to meet publication deadlines. Tuesday, March 24th at 6 p.m. appears to work for Supervisor DeCook and Supervisor Schultz. Will that work for you, Supervisor McIntyre?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Then I would ask that you set the public hearing date for the fiscal year 21 budget public hearing for March 24th, 2020 at 6 p.m.
I would move that we set the FY 21 budget hearing date of March 24th, 2020,
6 p.m.
6 p.m.
Second.
Discussion? No, I think that's, I'll just add, I think that's standard. I think this board has historically set that, budget hearing in the evening to open it up for public, and so we will continue to do so. We'll have our normal board meeting on the third Tuesday in the evening, and then we will have our public budget hearing for fiscal year 21 on the 24th at 6 p.m. I think that's consistent. Tracy?
McIntyre,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
DeCook,
Aye. All right, I've got 9:46, so we are right on time for action item number 5, public hearing regarding rezoning application submitted by Tim Worthington and Jody Morgan Worthington, 8095 Highway 92 in Enola, for the rezoning of certain lands within Warren County from A1 Agricultural District to C1 Local Service Commercial Districts with possible action.
I move we go into public hearing.
Second.
McIntyre,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
DeCook,
Aye.
Okay. Tim and Jody wish to rezone a .14 acre piece of ground from A1 to C1 for the purpose of bringing his property, or his shop and slash business, anything automotive, into compliance with the county. We received a complaint on his property last summer, and I know he had previously worked with the zoning office and was under the impression that his business was a home business and that it was okay to continue operating the way that it was. But when he met with us, it was recommended that he make that change to bring his property into compliance and change the zoning to C1 commercial. So Tim and Jody are willing to agree to a restriction that if it's approved, they request a sunset provision to allow the rezoning, or the zoning for tract A to revert back to A1 when the shop's no longer used for business purposes. The zoning recommends approval of the compliance rezoning from A1 to C1 with the sunset provision that has been requested by the Worthingtons. There was an agreement drafted up. Don drafted that up, and we got that to the Worthingtons, and I know that they were in the process of signing that, and I think that has been signed and is going to be presented today. It basically states that upon the recommendation of the Warren County Zoning Commission, the Warren County Board of Supervisors approves the rezoning of real property containing the building and business, anything automotive, from A1 Agricultural District to C1 Commercial. The Worthingtons agree when anything automotive ceases operation or when the real property sold, the real property zone C1 Commercial reverts back to A1 Agricultural District zoning. There was a couple neighbors that came in and they presented their case to the zoning commission. The zoning commission voted 5-0 to recommend approval to do the supervisors of the rezoning request. Those neighbors' concerns, they did email, and those were all added into your packets. And I know that the neighbors, I don't think the neighbors are here, but I know the applicants are here today to present their case also.
Lindsay, was it true that the complaints, they came removed in after the,
Yes.
yes?
Yes, Tim, and he's been in operation since, is it 07. And so he was in operation since 07, and I know I've had a couple, I know he had been in our office previously, under the direction of the previous director, and had multiple discussions with him about his operation. And then, and I know I've had a couple discussions with him, and I just had said, well, you know, if we operate on complaints at that time, you know, and so when we did get the complaint, we had to act on it. And you know, it's when we get the complaints, it's our goal to try to work with them and bring them into compliance and do what we need to do to keep them in business, and you know, bring their properties into compliance and do what they need to do. And he's been very willing to do what he needs to do on our end, at our request too. And we did just ask, he didn't want to rezone the whole property commercial, and so they just rezoned the certain portion of the building that he does use for the automotive business. So.
Good morning. I'm Terry Craftful, and I represent Tim and Jody in their rezoning request. And as Lindsay stated, the county has asked the Worthingtons to bring their property into compliance, and the Worthingtons have been working cooperatively with the county in order to accomplish this. In September of last year, the Worthingtons received a letter from the county stating they are out of zoning compliance due to Tim operating his business on the property, and the county stated the property must be rezoned to C1. In early November of last year, the Worthingtons and I met with the county to discuss the topic and to discuss the options that were available. And one of the options discussed, as Lindsay also pointed out, was to survey and parcel off just the shop and submit a rezoning application to rezone only this part of the property and keep the house and the rest of the property zoned as A1. The Worthingtons opted to pursue this option, and along with submitting the sunset request to revert back to A1 if and when the shop is no longer used for business purposes. A survey was completed parceling off the shop building, and the application for rezoning was submitted. And just for some additional background regarding Tim's business, a building permit for the shop was issued in '07, and the county officials, and Lindsay alluded to this as well, knew then what Tim was intending to do, and there weren't any zoning issues raised at the time. Tim's business, anything automotive, repairs automobiles, ATVs, motorcycles, tractors, and other mechanical items. He does not have employees. He does not have a sign on the property. His customers are mostly word of mouth and repeat customers. And in closing, Tim does not intend to expand or change how he does business. He and Jody simply want to bring their property into compliance as requested by the county, so Tim can keep doing what he has been doing for the last 12 years. Thank you.
Great. Will you take a question? Can I ask you?
Pardon? Oh, sure.
Will you take a question? One of and I get the timeline, thank you for explaining that. One of the questions that was raised in one of the emails from a neighbor was regarding clutter and noise, and I just wanted to get from your take on the clutter part. Is most of the business contained within the shop site? Or
From my understanding, and Tim is here and can respond, but he does the work inside the shop. And from my understanding, most of the work is contained within the shop building.
Thank you. We are still in public comment, so is there any comments from the public?
I would move to go back to regular session.
Second.
McIntyre,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye.
I would move that we accept the rezoning application submitted by Tim and Jody Morgan Worthington, 8095 Highway 92, Indianola, for rezoning, and I'm gonna say, rather than certain lands, I'm gonna say 1.4 acres, which is the shop, and rezone from A1 to C1 with a sunset clause. Do we need to waive the second and third readings?
If you want to.
Yeah, I would also make that a part of my resolution.
Second.
Any discussion? I will just point out that one of the things that factors in my mind when we make a decision like this is what the zoning board recommends. They're at 5-0 in approval of.
Yes.
All right, Tracy.
Schultz,
Aye.
McIntyre,
Aye.
DeCook,
Aye. All right, item number 6. We have a public hearing regarding a rezoning application submitted by Jimmy R. Downs, 4807 160th Avenue, Carlisle, Iowa, for the rezoning of certain lands within Warren County from A1 Agricultural District to RR1 Rural Residential District with possible action.
Okay. Jimmy wishes to rezone a 9-acre piece of ground from A1 to RR1 for the purpose of platting 3 residential building lots. So this would be a minor subdivision, so it would be by plats of survey. So there would be no preliminary plats and final plats, it would just be simple plats of survey. Our zoning ordinance allows for minor platting, up to 4 plats of survey under the minor platting, but he would still have to rezone to RR1 for that. So he could do up to 4, but he's asking for no more than 3. He's requesting the zoning change from A1 to RR1 for the purpose of those 3 residential lots, which would be done under the minor subdivision rules of the county. And we recommend approval of the zoning request for the 3 residential lots. But he would like to have stables, or horses allowed on the horses allowed on the RR1. Private stables are allowed in the RR1 district, but under the ordinance it says private stables, provided that any structure shall be located at least 200 feet from all boundary lines of the property on which located. The Board of Supervisors may waive this requirement during the subdivision process. So actually we're asking that the 200 feet, if you would approve, if you were to approve this, we are asking that you would consider waiving that 200 feet private stable structure setback also during this rezoning process, because they actually won't be coming back to you for a subdivision process because it's minor plating. So we did have one neighbor came in, and he would be the one that would be most affected by it because they would have a shared driveway. But he was just wanting to see, because Jimmy had talked to him, but he just kind of wanted to see what it was all about, and he didn't have any concerns. And then we had another neighbor stop in that was to ask questions about the rezoning request, and he planned to be at the meeting, but he did not come to the zoning commission meeting. The zoning commission did vote 4-1 to recommend approval. So there was 1 nay vote, but the rest, the other 4 voted in approval of the rezoning request. And I haven't received any new correspondence since the zoning commission meeting for this meeting.
I would move that we go to a public hearing regarding the application submitted by Jimmy R. Downs, 4807 160th Avenue in Carlisle, concerning rezoning from property from A1 to RR1.
Second.
Tracy.
McIntyre,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
DeCook,
Lindsay, are you still taking questions?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't see the zoning application, 4-1. Was there any rationale on the one?
He was concerned because there is a little bit of floodplain just as you come in. Actually, I will show it to you, it's easier to show it to you. This, right where you come in, this little bit of floodplain right here on that lot, he was just concerned about that.
On lot 1 of 3?
Yeah.
Okay. We're having quite the quiet public hearing sessions today. Is there any comments from the public or questions? Okay.
I would move we go back to regular session.
Second?
McIntyre,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
DeCook,
Aye.
I hope I can say this right, but I would move that we accept the rezoning application submitted by Jimmy R. Downs, 4807 160th Avenue, Carlisle, for the rezoning of certain lands within Warren County from A1 to RR1, and also waive the 200-foot, do I want to say restriction?
Setback restriction for
Yeah.
private stables.
And that we would waive the second and third readings.
Second?
Discussion. Tracy?
McIntyre,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
DeCook,
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Item number 7, Warren County Extension and Outreach, 2019 Stakeholder Report Presentation.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Jerry Chesik. I serve as a regional director for Iowa State University Extension and Outreach. And today I have the two staff that are currently housed in the Warren County Extension Office. Courtney Garrington is the executive director, and then Samantha Hasper is our county youth coordinator. And so today, we're just here to give a brief report about Iowa State University Extension Outreach here in Warren County. And so they gave me the opportunity to talk first, and so I'll take that. Want you to know that recently we just moved the office. We're now housed at 200 West 2nd Avenue in the old Farm Bureau building, so we still have Farm Bureau as a tenant of that building that was purchased. Courtney's been with us 4.5 years, and Samantha's been with us almost 2 months. So, and we are interviewing for an office assistant at this time as well. Not sure how familiar you are with Iowa State University Extension Outreach in Warren County, but we've been here since 1917. And so just had an opportunity to celebrate the centennial in 2017. We've just adopted our FY21 budget here. And so we budgeted $416,627 in expenditures with a tax ask of $300,000. And that equals a millage rate of about 12.841 cents per thousand valuation. As you may know, and I'm assuming you know, that Extension has an opportunity to do its own tax ask. And so we have funding authority through Iowa Code 176A. And so that Iowa Code also says that we're governed by a 9-member elected council. That council, we have 4 members whose terms are expiring here at the end of 2020. And maybe you know some of these folks: Amy Fluck, Steve Heberlin, Mark Matlich, and Kate Patterson. One thing that I learned recently and was reminded of it is that Extension is one of the, I think it's the only county office that doesn't have to have their paperwork in March 20th. So we actually have applications that are nomination papers that can be accepted from March 2nd through August 26th. And so as we talk to the Commissioner of Elections, we have a nominating committee that's being established. The other thing that I wanted to point out, and again in that stakeholders report, Courtney's going to go over that, but our 4 program areas are agricultural and natural resources, community and economic development, human sciences, and then Samantha's in charge of our youth development through the brand 4-H. So I'm going to be quiet for a while and let Courtney take over and talk just briefly.
The first packet, or the first piece of paper in your packet that looks like this, that is what we call our stakeholders report. And we put one of these out every year. They are public on our website, and it truly just highlights the programming that we've accomplished over the last year. When we passed the referendum in 2014, this opened up a new window of opportunities for our office to program across the board. And so we've worked very hard to add a variety of programming, everything from jam making workshops and salsa preservation to farm bill meetings this last year. And this document highlights some of our big changes. One of our probably most successful programs this last year that we held was called Boots in the Barn, where we had women come in and learn how to go through the calving process, and they simulated pulling a calf by the end of the class and taking care of animals. It was a very hands-on opportunity, and we aim for those kind of unique situations to add value to our Warren County constituents. Other things that we've highlighted, we've done various slow cooker classes, how to meal plan on a budget, freezer meal classes, when it comes to food and the environment, as well as classes regarding childcare and childcare provider education. We've worked with other local partners to bring programming into the village and different entities in Warren County to add some value as well. We are always looking for additional partners and different assets that we can help bring Iowa State University's research and education into different entities. Also, we have, I'd say probably when you talk about extension, we're most well known for our 4-H program. And Warren County has an outstanding 4-H program, which Sammy here is going to be, or is the leader of. And Sammy has some numbers for us regarding what our current enrollment is.
So just to give you a brief overview of our enrollment in Warren County, currently we have 380 active 4-H members and a little over 100 active Clover Kid members, so that would be K through 3. And then we have just over 50 adult volunteers.
So with that, we have an extreme amount of involvement. By the end of May, you'll find out we have more like 500 4-H'ers because we have one of those deadlines that everybody jumps in before May 15th to get their animals registered for the county fair. So you'll see a drastic jump in our numbers. Things that our 4-H program is really excelled on that, Sammy, you add to this as you see fit. We have at least 10 youth programs that we put on throughout the summer that are heavily attended. Normally we max out at 20 youth per item that we offer. Something that we're most well known for that Steve Heberlin, one of our council members, puts on is our barbecue school, where we do 3 days. We have a barbecue competition at the end. Kids learn how to smoke meats, grill meats, all different avenues, food safety. It's truly based on the education side. And then at the end, we have a competition to see who will represent Warren County at the state fair through Farm Bureau with the partnership. And we've had many youth go through and win the state competition. So that's just a brief highlight. We've had anything from technology to beekeeping workshops, kind of you name it, it's the gamut when it comes to our programming. But we truly try to keep in touch with our local constituents on needs and questions they have and develop programming around that. And a big event we have coming up on March 17th is a large cover crop day with NRCS that will be held north of town. And then we hope to have following up actual cover crop days where we go out and do field walks and do some hands-on education based on different programs that are out there, different resources that people have to tap into for grant dollars and things. So that's kind of a small sampling of what we have. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about our Master Gardener program. That's something that quite a few, we have 78 active Master Gardeners in our county right now, and those people we've added 12 constituents in the last year, and they've donated over 1,700 hours in our county to help beautify, to pick up trash, to work in churches, all kinds of things for the involvement and the educational purposes. I'll let you take it from there, Jerry.
The last thing I'm going to comment on is that Iowa State University Extension Outreach, of course, is research-based. And so all the programs that Courtney and Samantha talked about are actually research-based. And so it's not just something that someone thinks about and we can do a program. There's actually research to support all of that. As part of the research as well, I've included 3 documents as part of the data for decision makers. And so I know that you have a county government entity, ISAC, that also provides data to you, but understand that Iowa State University Extension Outreach is also a source that can be tapped if you need additional resources. So with that, we want to thank you for the opportunity to speak today and just introduce ourselves to you. Any questions from you?
Sure, I got one. How long has the Clovers been in going, or how is that a long-term thing, or is that somewhat newer?
It came to fruition in the beginning of the 2000s.
Oh.
So, yep.
And the numbers are about 100 right now
Yep.
in the county? Excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for your time and presentation. Okay, so we've already finished 8, 7. Looks like it's time for a closed session pursuant to Iowa Code 21.5, Trans 1A, to review or discuss records which are required or authorized by state or federal law to be kept confidential or to be kept confidential as a condition for that government body's possession or continued receipt of federal funds. Consider appeal on general assistance notice of decision with possible action, and at this time, I would ask all those who are not here for that specific matter to depart.